things like banning the rogue, banning the warrior.
I think it's just something that they just don't want to play against. I mean, we're in a weird situation because both players are, or at least No Hands has such a unique lineup with essentially a completely new archetype of deck that we haven't seen in Grandmasters with Death Rattle Demon Hunter, Secret Rogue as opposed to Miracle Rogue, which I'm still trying to figure out why Secret Rogue is better. I've asked around, and the answer that I've gotten is mostly just like, oh, it feels better in the metagame, but not any concrete evidence why. If you look at like HS replay data, Secret Rogue is the #1 archetype in High Legend, at least for Americas. It's just kind of in a weird spot, and No Hands has brought it. It oftentimes when players have brought it to Grandmasters, it's felt worse, and it's looked worse. But data doesn't lie, just people can read it wrong. We'll see. And so No Hands just has a incredibly unique lineup. It's hard for me to evaluate bans because the matchups are just all over the place.
Yep, makes sense. Starting off with the Primordial Studies, which already has some interesting implications of it. Lab Partner helps get things rolling because it's the cheapest. Cobalt Geomancer, next step up. So you could play it, potentially in combination with things like the Brain Freeze, but obviously not applicable here in this matchup. And then Mini Mage, while it's usually really good against a lot of classes because it can stay stealth indefinitely, Mage is a class that can deal with a card like Mini Mage, so it just ends up going for very stable Lab Partner. Fond of Power immediately responded with Rami. Finds Wormweaver. Now I find that cards like that can very subtly tilt things into the favor of the player when they start just playing minions, because there is also the dynamic where one player who does not have Incanter's Flow just get a little bit far ahead with minion pressure and tempo to the point where the other player that did play the Incanter's Flow have to start using removal that isn't on, or rather use burn that's not on the face, but instead as removal. So I do wonder if Rami's going to find an opening with those cards that he found off the Fond of Power.
Certainly a possibility. I think Wormweaver is one of the best ones in that case. But it's not time for that. It's time for Deck of Lunacy. NoHandsGamer doesn't even flinch. He's seen this 1,000 times, and he knows that Deck of Lunacy is for scrubs. That's why he's never brought it. Never played Deck of Lunacy a single day in his life.
For scrubs who cheese out dubs, TJ. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
And slam. So that's top end damage that Rami has to survive. He first has to prove that he can get to that point. Wormweaver.
Okay.
Ooh, okay. Some bravery being shown. Refreshing spring water with the ring toss ends up corrupting it.
Can't quite play it this turn though because he does want to eliminate this Wormweaver. So, question is, does he use one of these shooting stars here? I think you do. There's no need for two of them, and keeping this Lab Partner alive is incredibly important.
Getting Rami down to 17 life as well as he marches closer to finding the ability to close out with Mask of Cthulhu. That 1 mana discount not hitting the Mask of Cthulhu. A huge deal, as you can see. Rami finds a tidal wave. I mean, that's huge for the heals. And it could so easily have turned into cards that were so useless. Rami could have picked up, the survival of the fittest, a 10 mana spell for Druid that buffs all of your minions in your deck and hand in battlefield, but that doesn't apply to Spell Mage a lot of the times. But when you find things like the Grand Slam, Tidal Wave, I am very fearful for No Hands. That being said, Tidal Wave has to hit minions. So maybe not nearly as impactful as my first initial instinct has laid out. Soul of the Forest also not applicable.
Well, still need some time. to set up all this big stuff.
Right, and the mana biscuits only refresh. So Rami, what does he do then? Just toss a fireball to the face? Just start to catch up on the race a little bit here?
I suppose. There's not really much else to... Okay. All right, efficient damage. So I don't need this thing anymore. Just cash it in for a ping.
I mean, now it's at the point where Rami feels so far behind that he really has to hope that his opponent has no more damage, but I mean, No Hands is just a Pexus Blast away from ending the game.
Yep.
Rindorb?
Or
look for it.
He could get lethal with Mask, but it's
Could. There's even devolving missiles. Devolving missiles into the Mask of Cthulhu. Yes, that's
okay.
a lot less health.
Yep.
Hold on. Can he just survive if he's shooting stars instead? I mean, maybe the Mask of Cthulhu just clears things off anyways. Here we go. Ooh. Oh.
Nope. He died. He needed either 2 more to go face or 1 more to go into the 3-1.
Wow.
All right, looks like Deca Lunacy's better.
Yeah, Rami.
That game just determined it.
Getting the Grand Slam. I mean, that's huge. And we talked about how it could have easily been survival of the fittest, and it would have been a useless card. So, just goes to show you the highs and lows of what the deck of Lunacy could give you, right? And on the one side, gave him like the Giga Nuts, having him crush his opponent with charge damage that immediately went face for 12. Now, on the other hand, could have easily just been more Soul of the Forest shenanigans to do nothing.
Yeah. He didn't really have any card draw there either. That's a very weird game where it felt like almost nothing that happened in the early game really mattered. It was just about like the decisions and the outcome of that last turn. But obviously the decisions did matter. It just that's where our focus goes when we're looking back at a game like that. All right. Moving on, Rami queuing up the Rush Warrior. This is a little bit of an interesting variation of Rush Warrior, and I talked to Rami about this. He's playing Nitro Boost Poison, which in practice, most of his lists are the same as Nalgidon's for context. And in their practice group, they discovered that Kresh, getting the weapon back from Kresh, and then Nitro Boost Poisoning that, gives you 10 extra damage on that weapon because it's got 5 charge. It turns it from a 2/5 into a 4/5, which is just insane. And you play like Overlord Sourfang to bring back Kresh. But Rami cut the Kresh because he didn't feel like it felt that good, but kept the other stuff, kept the Sourfang, and kept the Nitro Boost Poison. He said that he just felt like the Nitro Boost Poison was good enough on all the other weapons, and Prison Gnarg, Sword Eater, comes out a lot faster, allows you to pressure more, and that even just with Blademaster Samuro and the Stonewall Anchorman, that Overlord Sourfang still felt good enough as well. So it has better matchups against the slower decks, control-oriented decks, and still, he says, feels just as good against some of the faster decks in the field. I don't even know where to categorize this one, Dan, though.
Death Rattle Demon Hunter. It's a deck that I've been playing a lot on ladder. I was even tweeting about my success with it. And it has incorporated some of the new cards that have released from the Mid-Set expansion, such as Fell Rattler, the 3-mana rusher that deals 1 damage to all minions upon Death Rattle. Sigil of Summoning, which summons 2/2/2 taunts, very similar to the Sigil of Flames and other things of the Demon Hunter. You have to wait a turn to get it to activate. But what really ties everything together are the legendaries that you saw, Death Speaker, Blackthorn, as well as N'Zoth, God of the Deep, to really give you some impressive staying power. And so we'll see. Is it the old versus the new in terms of building up a board that's difficult to to remove. Whether it's No Hands' Death Rattle Demon Hunter or it's going to be the Rush for let's go into it. As already some interesting choices available. No Hands has the Sigil of Summoning to start things off. Keeps a Fury, so I wasn't sure about this. Because Fury, I have played both lists of No Hands and Luna and a few other people. And I've had the least amount of success with No Hands' list, but I think it's because he has specifically curated his list to do to try to fight against specific matchups that he's anticipating to go up in this tournament. And I feel like in ladder specifically, I wasn't really identifying what I wanted to do with each card nearly as well as it was with others. So I'm curious to see what No Hands is going to do here and how his approach has differed from the way I've seen it.
Yeah, this deck is interesting because it's got all this like value packed in and like death rattle value, but it actually can operate pretty aggressively. Because if you draw like that death rattle curve, you're constantly replacing minions on board with minions in your hand. Your opponent can never gain full tempo because every time they kill a minion, another one just takes its place. And then you have Fury and you have Illidari Inquisitors to like end the game on turn 8. But then it can also play for the super late stages of the game where you have the N'Zoth, right? You have the Inquisitor Blackthorn. The difficult part is finding the middle ground, is when you draw equal parts of both, can't play aggressively, but can't go full on the control path, where I feel like the deck kind of struggles. But I do think that this is a reasonable start for No Hands. The Fury Keep will give him some ability to kind of fight back on the board. Okay. Felt Rattler's
so
quite good here.
It is. It is also the only minion that would get pulled from the Razor Boar at the moment.
I grow impatient.
Razor Boar is protected, though, so I think he could get greedy in this case. Or not. Maybe he wants to outcast the Vengeful Spirit and play a Fury here.
Demons?
That's true. The curve of the Vengeful Spirit is very strong. If there's one thing that I've particularly liked about his list versus others, that he has that Vengeful Sphere to keep the train going, because there is one downside of the Death Rattle package, the Razor Boar, which pulls out the Beastmaster, which pulls out other stuff like your performers and whatnot, that you don't have the actual cards in your hand to pull out, so it's empty. Oh my gosh. Now the chain can really continue here. The Razor Fin, Beastmaster comes into the hand, allowing No Hands to keep that chain going.
The question is, again, does he fit in a Fury?
Well, one thing that's also... Yeah, one thing worth considering too is that he is playing Vectis. Now, Vectis, definitely a legendary that you can flex in and out of these deck lists, it feels like.
Demons?
Particularly because you can't get the guarantee off of Vectis a lot. But in the early game, when you draw it this fast, you actually can. So No Hands being pretty selective with how he wants to go about this is very fascinating to me. He ends up just playing the Performer, getting the rush.
I guess this does set up for a solid Vectis no matter what happens. I mean, he is putting on a ton of pressure as well. Like, Rami's already down to 15. And Rush Warrior, even though it's Warrior, they're not hitting their armor up button. They don't gain life very easily. They're incredibly susceptible to burn damage, especially since they're taking damage a lot of times as their removal with weapons in the early game. So we're looking at a situation where a couple more minions stick. This rank 2 Fury now all of a sudden represents a good amount of potential threat.
Yep, but Rami gets the confirmation no other thing is in the hand, and it's likely to be the case, so...
So close.
So close, but at the same time, so the Vectis coming down here could end up reviving things that he doesn't, or rather he could gain the death battles to pull cards from the hand that he doesn't have. So drawing that Beastmaster actually is pretty clutch.
Demons?
But if he ends up up getting the Razor Boar and the Beastmaster Death Rattles into the Vectis, then it doesn't feel like it accomplished much, which is why it feels like this Vengeful Spirit makes more sense, so that way you can draw more cards in the hand and get the guaranteed Fire and the Fel Rattler. Oh yeah, and just actually, as TJ mentioned, Rami's almost dead. Just by the nature of the fact that he keeps trading his own health.
Yeah, but I think it's not like an all terrible spot because Rami will, with how his hand has been constructed, take control of the board. Now it's just about whether or not No Hands can go for that big swing onto the board, because both of these decks can kind of do that well. It's just No Hands relies on very specific cards from his deck, whether it's Blackthorn or N'Zoth, and they're still a little bit of a ways away. The Fel Rattler here, though, is quite good again.
Yes, Fel Rattler is very impressive. The way I view Fel Rattlers, in a lot of ways, it feels kind of like a 3-mana swipe.
Yeah.
The Druid spell that has since kind of rotated out of the core set, because it deals 3 damage to one target and then 1 to everything, so it effectively feels like swipe. And because you have so many ways to layer it, people don't want to remove your board, so you almost get to pick and choose how you go about it. So if you trade in, say, your Razor board that summons the Fel Rattler, then you actually even get a better swipe than that. So it's really powerful when you're able to line it up exactly the way you want it to. No Hands. The Flesh Fire gets pulled out. The Dark Moon Riders with the Playmaker and the Parade Leader. I mean, this is definitely an issue where No Hands really hopes. Oh my goodness gracious. But he was really hoping that maybe a Fel Rattler Death Rattle could get summoned because it would be able to find a way to answer the board. Does want to also deal with kind of the state of things here, but if he does play things like the Spectral Flyer, pretty much be at the mercy of whatever his opponent plays afterwards.
Demons.
Make 2 toys of them!
It only gains the Death Rattle, doesn't gain all the effects, so can't rush in right now. Well, that is decent. It's just very scary with Parade Leader and the Playmaker on board. Any rush minion becomes threatening.
Yes.
Ooh, Nitro Boost Poison, though. Not a good draw.
Oh. Stamero. That got buffed by the Stage Dive, though. That seems pretty solid. The issue is that Rami wants to also ensure that he has a way to deal with the board after the fact, not even just like the first half. He could wipe it with the Samuro, but what comes after the Death Rattles is what he's thinking about.
Can he ignore it and set it for a 2-turn lethal? With just Alexstrasza? Is that a possibility? 9 damage? Yeah. Yeah, so he just clears the board, and then even if there's a reload on No Hand's side, he just kills him.
He knows about the Fish Flyer. Yeah, wow. This seems very much aligned with some of the experience I've had with No Hands' list. It just feels like it runs into this issue at times where, like, you have this curve that seems pretty good, and then it breaks apart, and then it just doesn't feel good enough. Rami wins game 2, 1 game away from going to the top 4. This young man from Argentina started off quite as an underdog, and now is on the verge of putting our #1 seed into the lower bracket here. And so I think we've seen what this deck is capable of, right? With the Death Rattle Demon Hunter. It's got a lot of good smoothness to it when you're able to pull out things. But a couple of hiccups, right? And also showing you why some people don't like Vectis, because it feels like it doesn't have the impact that you really want it to. Especially in tempo-based matchups that go for big swings like this. Now granted, I will say that Rami drew exceptionally well in order to get to this point. but I can't help but feel like my experience has lined up a lot with that game from No Hands. When I played this deck, I struggled a lot to get the wins consecutively.
Yeah, I think the same thing. It's that deck has a lot of sticking power and longevity against some of the slower matchups in the field. But it does seem like once it loses board, unless it's got Illidar Inquisitors to back it up in hand, it feels like it just loses the game quite easily. We'll see though. We still have some more time to put it to the test in competitive play, because No Hands has, even if he loses this match, has another one to play for the decider match later on. Rami's Priest, it's got some fun new toys. It's got Mutinous the Devourer. It also has the Arshuid Neralex. It has an Acidic Swamp Ooze. It has like Holy Smite, but no Condemn. It's kind of a mix. It's not like the greediest Priest deck, obviously, because it's not playing Cthulhu or even like Ysera at the top end. And it's not like full anti-aggro because it's not playing Condemns or like double Holy Smite. It's kind of a nice middle ground, quite minion heavy, but I do like it. I think for a Conquest Priest deck, it's pretty good.
Well, we'll see if game number 3 can change anything. Will Rami be the first player in the Americas through to the top 4? I mean, I can't help but cheer for the guy. Just being able to string together a good series of performances with some good hard work, and of course, a little bit of luck. Now, Priest is a class that largely has gained a lot through the mid-set expansion, because it is a class that has excelled and thrived by using disruption cards. So adding a Mutinous, for example, is really great. But I will say the one thing that I don't understand is the lack of the removal card against all odds. It feels like such a powerful removal, especially when you piece together with Wave of Apathy, that I would feel like, you know, when I was testing this deck on my own, TJ, it felt like I was running into issues that I wasn't accustomed to with Priest, where I had too many minions because I was like playing this N'Zoth package, and I didn't actually have reactive cards that they're supposed to deal with the board state.
Oh, Dan. Priest, it doesn't matter what spells they put in their deck, because they play more spells that are outside of their deck than they do that are inside of their deck.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
I understand what you mean. I've actually, in my experience, I've been running into a lot of players that are actually just playing Wave of Apathy against all odds in their deck. I've been not randomly generated. I've been Wave of Apathy against all odds multiple times.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying that I would rather put it in the deck, because a lot of times I actually find my hand to be exactly like this, TJ, which is just minions. It's minions that are like, you have to play it to generate something, but then if you're in a tempo-based matchup, you actually just fall behind. It is funny because it was actually highlighted by the fact, and I'm kind of ashamed to admit this, and I hope he's watching, I queued up into A-Bar on ladder. Alex Barhorse, former championship top 8 from HCT System, and also the previous producer of Hearthstone Grandmasters. And he even disconnected for an entire turn. Didn't get to play his turn. And as Priest versus the Rush Warrior, I was like, oh, sweet, I win. I had Blademaster Samuro. I played the new legendary Archdruid Naralax, which gave me a nightmare. And I had Apotheosis. I was like feeling good. I swept his board. That got buffed by the double conditioning. And he was DC. I was like, this is sweet. And then my hand was exactly kind of like what Rami's is, which was like Sousy Scoundrel, Light Shadow Elemental, Mutinous, N'Zoth, and a Wand Maker. And I just died. Like, I couldn't do anything. I was like, what is this deck? It doesn't do anything that Priest is supposed to be good at. And then A-Bar was kind of like laughing. He's like, oh, wow, I can't believe I just got there anyways, even though I DC'd. So just, I'm worried for the Priest just a little bit, TJ, just because my own experience has not lined up very nicely with it.
Yeah, this hand is not looking the best for fighting back. Kind of just throw something out there and hope it gets there. On paper, it seems like it'd be fine, right? It's just a middle ground of a bunch of different priest decks, but yeah, maybe right. In execution,
look.
it just it could fall short.
Yeah. But that being said, if the generations go correctly, right? Like the Scorpid finds what you need, the Wandmaker gives you what you need. You're able to, you know, chain together the Sethic Veil Weavers with the Raised Dead, which has been a dynamic I still struggle with a little bit because I feel like the amount of pressure on ladder is really high. There's a ton of, like, you know, people playing Shaman, for example, on the ladders, which is normally like a very aggressive package. And so cards like Raised Dead to try to get more value to generate stuff feels even a bigger liability. So because it's a different environment altogether, and you know people are playing slower decks in a tournament, you know, I think Rami clearly was building his list in mind with a tournament, not for the idea to climb to #1 rank legend, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, he's piecing together stuff, right? This is certainly stuff.
Yeah.
But no, not really a cohesive strategy at the moment. No Hands, I mean, he's got like the super greedy, slow end of his Demon Hunter deck. Double Skull, the Vengeful Spirit. There's a lot of card draw generation and good stuff going on for him. This will pull the Renowned Performers. Actually, could have pulled the Razor Vet, but I guess then he could have attacked with it. I actually don't know. I guess it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and a little bit of clunkiness too with like the Vengeful Spear and the Skullical Dance. He would obviously like to get Skull ready for turn 6, but he would be drawing 5 cards over 2 turns on top of his natural draws, so it runs into hand space issues for sure. Finds the Sethic Veil Weavers right back for Rami, so that is a way for him to get those spell generations that are really powerful. Could have easily gone for a Venomous Scorpid as well and would have been totally fine. In this position, a lot of times as the priest, I kind of want to get the Light Shower Elemental invested so I don't have to worry and hope that it survives in the future as well.
We'll cut right to the chase.
Rami going with the Renowned Performer with the Sethic Veil Weaver instead. Thing is, the Sethic Veil Weaver feels like a throwaway if you just put it out there. I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Everything else just feels too awkward. Like, this is the only resource that doesn't fit with anything else in his hand, right? There's no combo ability, I guess, outside of maybe Apotheosis with this card. So I don't hate this play. I feel like this is a play of, I don't really know what to do. I'm just going to put something out on the board that doesn't like negatively impact me in any way. But I think the biggest limiting factor here for Rami is just mana, right? I feel like he would have some powerful stuff to do if he just had access to a little bit more mana.
Sure.
And that'll fix
I wonder
itself.
if part of him feels like Light Shower Elemental is really important for him to play to get value off the heal.
Yeah, that's like the Sethics, like you said, you're kind of just throwing them out there to die. The Light Shower Elemental, it's like a single minion. You're not clearing up any 1/1s on the board. You're wasting parts of the heal. And then, like, the Renowned Performers is just like, well, when else am I going to use this and be able to get at least some value off of it? So that's where I went with it. And I guess that's where Rami went with it. Okay.
And it's starting to look more like Priest. Set up the Skull. Can even use Illidari Studies. Great sequencing as well. Sure that get to draw what he wants first, or at least increase the likelihood that he gets what he wants. Illidari Inquisitor, the finisher of choice for the Death Rattle Demon Hunter, particularly because it's powerful within the Zoth. It revives the Illidari Inquisitor, and then you can hit again. What I like about the Fury from No Hands is that it just gives a lot of surprise burst damage from the top that you don't really expect. 2 Furies plus an Inquisitor can just rack up to like a surprise, 15 damage out of nowhere. Oh, gonna go upstairs anyways.
Okay.
Huh.
So it was free.
Perhaps.
Mind render?
Yeah.
LC Scoundrel?
I think it's a read on Elucia. Saying like, hey, I could save this for 1 more damage later on. Or I can just, continue to keep my hand a little bit lean. I know this damage is going to go to face anyways, because like I said, it's part of his combo at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I must consider.
So from Rami's perspective, he's had a couple of Sethix die, the Scorpid, and he's also had Renowned Performer and a couple of other in the Death Rattles die as well. It's been kind of awkward.
Yeah, I think Hysteria, knowing that there's going to be a big board at some point in this game, Hysteria is necessary since outside of Blade Master Samurai Apotheosis, which is big, but a lot of times that's not like a definitive board clear by itself. You need a little bit more because it's 3 damage AoE to everything. It's like a full heal, but will it clear the board always? No. Okay, good Lord's Bite. Cool.
Big damage. Looks like he's just going to keep the train going and say like, hey, look, if you want to set up for a N'Zoth, I'm going to really make it hurt. Rami did find a Shadow Word Death, so he can just remove that as well, but doesn't need to do that immediately.
I must consider.
I would also say that Rami's in a position where he has to assume that No Hands is maybe setting up for a kill because of the fact that, he's drawn so many cards in his deck. There's 20 cards down. Yeah, he's used all the Skull of Gul'dan discounts, but it could easily turn into a disaster situation.
Trying to think
if
of
he wants
break points.
I think he can use it here. There's no point in saving it for Zyrella. He doesn't even have it.
Yeah.
No Hands can go for the follow-up N'Zoth. Lots of pressure. Another aspect is that Rami doesn't have, Soul Mirror and other really big forms of AoE that the Priest is normally very comfortable having. With Desperate Pair used, it also means that no Zyrella threat. And immediately, No Hands can go upstairs for another 10.
Yep.
I will say,
our Inquisitor in the deck as well.
Samuro is pretty huge here. Oh my goodness! That's a second Apotheosis? How big is that?
It's 5 attack.
Just barely.
I mean, it's a full heal, no matter what, right?
It's a full heal for sure. So Apotheosis and Samuro, that does leave you 3 more mana. Maybe instead you just Shadow Word Death and you leave up the Zoth. Oh, that's awkward.
Well, he could go Blade Master Samurai Apotheosis attacking the Inquisitor and then Shadow Word Death and Zoth.
Yeah, that also works. Yeah. Doesn't kill whatever gets pulled from the Beastmaster. The Devouring Ectoplasm, I believe is what it's called. It's a card that summons a 2/2 Adventurer with a random bonus effect, and the bonus effects range anywhere from like Taunt to additional stuff. Kind of get that like lackey-like feel. He goes back up to 30, No Hands. Building back the board, finds Death Speaker Blackthorn.
This still gets full value.
Really?
Yeah, he's got.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jeez. Minions just don't stop coming. Recruit's a really powerful effect. Being able to recruit 3 death rattles that give you more staying power.
Okay. Stereo will clear off 2 of these minions. Well, 3 if you include the actual Blackthorn. That'll pull another ectoplasm out of the hand, though. Just every minion that you kill feels like it replaces itself for most of the minions that you kill.
Right. It's very difficult to deal with it unless you have the silences of Priest.
Yeah.
I will say, pretty much what you see is all that No Hands has left. Fell Rattler, not the most important ones. 2 Fell Rattlers. That's quite manageable from Rami's perspective.
Yeah. I suppose the problem for Rami here is there is another Illidari Inquisitor left.
Yes.
It's not in the hand right now for No Hands, but that's like a break point of damage that Rami's going to be playing around at all costs. Nova. Does it clear off enough?
Clear off some. Clears off 4 power, it looks like, because the 3/2s become 2/2s, and the 1/1s get wiped.
Yeah.
And does have Holy Smite to kill off the Vectus as well. Could even use it on the Performer to try and wipe the Death Rattle afterwards. Keep that clean. There's options here for Rami. Ends up going for the Performer kill.
Okay, he's gonna Mind Render just to lock No Hands out of his own cards for this turn.
Yeah, especially if it's
but
the Inquisitor.
he gives him lethal Mind Renders. Right? Oh no, it's 1 off.
8.
Oh no, it's 2 off.
11. Does No Hands want to play the South Sea Scoundrel? That's definitely something they consider.
One for me.
Yeah.
One for you.
So he doesn't want to pick the
Or you
Inquisitor,
can dump
right?
everything.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yes, he does want to pick the Inquisitor. Oh no, he doesn't want to pick the Inquisitor. You're right. I was thinking he does want to pick the Inquisitor, so he has it in his hand when it swaps back next turn. Actually, yeah. I don't know. I don't think it really matters there much. This board's probably going to get there no matter what.
Yeah, I think you're right for the most part here. From No Hands' perspective, I think that it kind of didn't really matter what he selected whatsoever because Rami, when you swap back and has 0 cards, no heal, no apotheosis to buff, the Zyrella isn't enough. And this Priest looks done for game number 3. No Hand's going to hang in there for a little bit longer.
Yep.
What knowledge do the stars
So DJ, I'm just going to ask the question again. Is this Priest a little bit too light on the removal, a little bit too cute with the minion package to try to create this curve the Priest has not traditionally followed? And I guess I feel a little more comfortable revealing that I played 5 games with Rami's Priest deck today. I went 0-5. I really hope this isn't just the beginning of a reverse sweep, TJ. I'm just like, I'm a little bit shocked about how eerily similar it felt. Yeah, from my perspective. All the damage that he was dealing was No Hands self-inflicting it too. It wasn't even like he was putting on meaningful amount of pressure. So even if the health total suggested that it was like a reasonably close game, it was not at any point.
Yeah, we didn't even get to see it take a win in the other series because it was banned, right? It was banned in the first series. There was priest bans on both sides.
It's true.
I don't know. We'll see. But one thing that game does is it gives me hope for No Hands in the series to kind of try and pull this one back. You know, the deck still at its core can just do priest things and have a priest curve. You know, maybe it draws the spell side of its deck and not the minion side of its deck, and then the minion side of its deck later on. But now No Hands is going to move to the mage. And I guess just having minions in this matchup and not having the removal spells is fine. Especially with like Light Shower Elementals. It can be hard, especially with No Hands not having Deck of Lunacy, to really stick meaningful damage without insane opening hands. That is not an insane opening hand.
It is not the hand that you're really looking for to start. But perhaps something can come together. Meanwhile, Rindor upon 2 in 2. Beginner's flow potentially. Oh my goodness, the eyebrow has been raised.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. I mean, it's golden and everything. Madame Lazul is pointing at it. It's glowing. I mean, everything is telling you. Snap, pick, Deck of Lunacy.
Okay. No Hands realized the power of Deck of Lunacy in game 1, losing with his non-Lunaseed deck to Rami's Lunaseed deck. Now he's been converted after 7 weeks of not bringing Deck of Lunacy.
Oh, totally. I understand why you don't put in your deck, because it's because the matchups where you don't want it, it just feels like you play with a dead card in your deck. So I'm all for it. That being said, Deck of Lunacy is just so good at doing stuff at a discounted rate that just makes it obnoxiously good. And he's just gonna pull the trigger on 4? Look, I mean, it's only fair.
Yep.
Right? Rami did it to him, so No Hands gets to do it back.
Yep.
All right, TJ, we're going to game 5.
A lot of Hearthstone still left to be played. A lot of random cards to draw off the top of the deck for No Hands. Some of them do need to deal damage or build boards. If all of them just remove boards and don't deal damage, then what are we even here for? Or are we just going to kind of play on curve here? Not really much of a choice to do anything else. Dark Portal is useless.
Interesting to note is that his post-Deck Lunacy hand is not that great. A lot of times when you think about Deck of Lunacy, it helps a lot if the cards in your hand existing are, you know, the Mask of Cthulhu and the Fireball. Of course, there's a chance that he gets it anyways. I can't tell you how many times I see the Mage play Deck of Lunacy and then play all the cards on the left. I'm like, okay, cool. Less burn to consider. And then they play Double Mask anyways for 3 mana. Because they play the Northern Canner's Flow. And I'm just mad. And then that's it. And then I'm like, okay, it's time to get ready to cast.
You don't pick the
Wow, a day in the life of Pronet. Okay, we're looking for Astromancer Solarian. Nope.
Okay. Keyword Ivory. Not unreasonable.
Yeah.
Babbling Book. I mean, that could just get you
Anything.
There you go. Lack and Burn.
Okay.
There it is.
No problem. Babbling Book's got you covered.
Water Elemental, just a reasonable stat minion. You're not super hopeful that it's going to be able to survive, especially with the Scorpion on the board. Okay, now if I'm Rami, feel like you can start putting on a read that your opponent is weaker than he's letting on right now. Yo. Oh,
Okay.
he has the combo.
What, Fell Guardians?
Yeah, Fell Guardians plus the Survival of the Fittest.
He needs more. We have to go deeper. Oh! Doesn't have enough hand space. He needs to dump a card. He can dump the Dark Portal.
I also really like Devolving Missiles on when your opponent's trying to revive stuff like the Light Shower.
Yep. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow, that was actually sick.
Ooh.
Gets rid of the poison and devolves the Light Shower Elemental twice.
Yo!
Okay. All right. This stuff is insane.
This is disgusting, TJ. I know it's
That's just all minion generation. Just all of it. And discounted.
powered infusion or power infusion and then Psyche split is something that I'm eyeing right now. He's just ignoring the minions. He's setting up a 2-turn lethal.
Cool.
Nice.
Nice.
Shadow Death.
Okay.
Silence.
I mean, this is a very good turn from Rami, all things considered.
Yes.
And one of the problems
Teacher?
of leaving this Violet Teacher up is that a Grand Slam is... It's all going to hit once.
No, TJ. There's a cycle of hatred coming off the top of the deck
All right.
soon. It's like there's AoE somewhere in this deck. Too many hits available for no hands for it to not be a top deck AoE into a concede from Rami. Although Rami's not really a conceder.
No, he plays to the bitter end. Okay.
So he is Shooting
so
Star. He's really not stressed out.
Shooting Star, Malevolent Strike.
I like the deep freeze here. Oh, just gonna slam. And welcome to the jam.
Okay. Oh, all right. That's reasonable. Kills the higher priority targets. Saves up the 1/1. Don't think you need a Malevolent Strike this.
Perhaps he's anticipating, a big decisive swing like the Samuro, right? It's a pretty juicy setup for it.
Yep.
He's laying down the bait. If he can catch a wild Rami, bear trap.
Okay, none of these... I mean, at any point, Rami just has Blade Master, Samurai, Apotheosis if he thinks he's in any immediate danger, which he just thinks he's in immediate danger at the moment. To be fair,
This is a perfect.
he certainly was. Okay, Twisting Nether is not what No Hands wants in this situation.
No. I kind of like Keyword in here to see what we could pick up because
He's got Malevolent Strike as well to
right.
activate the spell burst for free.
Yeah, could also just go for a Survival of the Fittest right now with his Deep Freeze and the Fell Guardians. There isn't any big definitive AoE as far as he knows. Rami does end up having it though, the Shadowward Ruin. quite problematic.
Yeah.
Maybe also, you know, I'm not sure if No Hands is setting up for that. It's going for it.
Yep. And this will get heavily punished.
Oh! Punished is what happens when you get sent to your room for not doing your chores, TJ.
No Hands just this is like game losing right now.
Yeah.
Not that he could have done anything about it, but
Utter destruction. Like,
yikes. That one stings.
that's gotta stay.
I didn't ditch class to get
Hey,
You wore an ivory.
9.
Taking the gut in class, TJ. I'm banking that my deck has no pathetic cards.
It's only 11 left. Some of them are probably pathetic.
Oh!
White Blackwing. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man.
Run away like the way Rami is running away with this game.
I have no master.
Can't even watch.
Just drawing things out of order.
Oh,
Hey?
okay.
Bendable performers. Trade. So now we enter the territory where Rami could play Nizath. And even if he hasn't gotten things like his Light Shower Elemental, he's just not challenged. And it's clear No Hands doesn't have like a great burn plan whatsoever. So I'm down to consider that in the next couple turns here. Rami starts off the Scorpid.
Got Condemn lined up as well.
True.
Doesn't want to really leave anything on board for the chance of yet another survival of the fittest or anything really. Arbor up, I guess, is a consideration. We can see it in the hand.
One for me, one for you.
Okay. Getting a little taste of what's in store for us.
Okay.
Celestial Alignment is scary.
Celestial Alignment is... So, there's been situations with Mage where I've won because I played Celestial Alignment and my hand was like 2 Mask of Cthulhu's and a Fireball after the Deck of Lunacy. And you just kill him in 1 turn. But I don't think No Hands is in that spot. Ends up picking up a Power Word Fortitude. He just wants to draw cards.
Well, if he can find like a combination like this, where he goes like Glowfly Swarm, Celestial Alignment, right? Glowfly Swarm, Arbor up, Celestial Alignment.
Oh, he doesn't have to.
Well, he would like Flame Strike this turn. Next turn, go Glowfly Swarm, Arbor up, Power Word Fortitude, Celestial Alignment, or whatever.
Ooh, okay, I'm down. Just play a token druid.
Yeah. I don't like going in for it this turn because I feel like the Celestial Alignment is what would be protecting it from harm.
Right. But that's also, like, now that Rami knows that he no Hands has those cards, though, I feel like that's turn to play Nizath. If you know Glowfly Swarm is in the hand.
I also feel like he should have just used Flame Strike that turn instead. So that way, No Hands would have the option of going Hysteria, Glowfly Swarm, Arbor up, Celestial Alignment. Because now he can't clear the board or clear any of the board If he uses Hysteria, he can't Flame Strike and then go for it. Or, like in this situation, he'd have Hysteria, so he could Hysteria the Blackwing and at least clear off 2 minions. Best case scenario, he clears off 3. Because now he's just everything's delayed.
I'm almost out of cards. I'm out of cards.
Okay. Okay.
So an Assassinate onto the Blackwing.
Yep.
Time runs out on me.
Does have another big push, but here's a problem. What if Rami just plays Mindrender Lucia?
Yep.
There's no way No Hands can play around that. But if Rami is willing to do so, huh? I mean, this isn't a bad play, but was it the right play?
Because he's seen the Celestial Alignment. He knows it's there. He's also seen Glowfly Swarm. Does this set up for lethal?
Right, he's seen Glowfly Swarm. He also knows that there's at least one more 7-mana spell that got converted. So if it was like Glowfly Swarm into survival, this exact combination is what you'd be afraid of.
I think Rami's fine, though. I think he's got this mapped out. Because No Hands goes all in here in Celestial Alignments. Rami just Wave of Apathies and then pushes face. And then No Hands is dead, essentially. So you think he's thinking to himself he doesn't need to Mind Render. This changes things though. The extra Fireball on top. Because that means he's not setting up for a 2-turn. He's pushing 6 this turn. There'll be 2 fatigue. And then they push 6 next turn with 3 fatigue. It's 12 plus 5, that's 17. So it's not quite there. And No Hands held on to the Arbor up as well, which means that's extra damage that's unaccounted for from Rami, since he didn't see that. He saw the Glowfly Swarm. He knew there was a 10-mana spell left, whether it was the Grand Slam or Survival of the Fittest. And he saw the Celestial Alignment.
Okay. I mean, he has to Wave of Apathy here.
Yeah, I know. If he doesn't Wave of Apathy, he dies. Maybe it was Mind Render last turn.
I'm thinking that that's the only way that the opponent can win, is if they have just some kind of combination of cards from Deck of Lunacy. Rami goes for the push. And then No Hands has 7 plus 14, it's 21. To Arbor up and push. And then Rami has lethal if he Mind Renders, but I don't know if you'll know.
Well, so if he's dead no matter what, he's gonna Mind Render.
That's true.
So in a weird situation, maybe No Hands is dead no matter what to Mind Render. Because if Arbor up would also be enough. Unless he uses these minions to clear off the board.
Oh.
Which would be a fantastic play.
Yes. He has to clear the board off.
He can't clear enough of the board. Yeah, he has to clear the 5/6 and then the 3/4 that comes from the 5/6.
Yeah, then he can push the rest, right?
Whoa.
All
right.
No. Okay. Super close for making the perfect play. And now Rami.
I mean, like, he's dead no matter what. The only play that keeps him alive is if he Mind Renders and there's and there's burn damage in the hand or No Hands. Oddly enough, Rami's going to stumble upon lethal here.
I mean, but that palm reading, I wonder if that's going to bait him into thinking that he can maybe survive, right? Because he could trade in Shadow Word Death and Hysteria. Like,
There's
he
one
has the
man.
Mind Render. And he's gonna do it. Sees a 1-mana fireball passed right back. That was created by the Babbling Brook, and we have our first player through to the top 4. Rami from Argentina, able to make the second season of his Grandmaster career really count so far as he is going the distance. Defeating NoHandsGamer, a player that he's gone up against multiple times this season, 5 by the count, going into that last week. And the rivalry continues between the newcomers. I believe this puts them at even match score for the season, TJ.
Yeah. It does. And honestly, like, you can't blame No Hands for that.
No.
The Shadow Word Ruin play to stop the first push, created by Septic Veilweaver. There you see it. And then the next wave, right? I think No Hands thought that Mind Render probably would have been played on the previous turn, and arguably maybe it should have. Like in most worlds, right? How often is that last card going to be burn damage for like direct damage, right? Like Mask of Cthulhu wouldn't have done it. It had to be like exactly directed burn damage, almost exactly Fireball. And so